England coming from behind to defeat Belgium by 2-1. Robbo, Belgium ranked number 1 in the world, so that now means England are the best team on the planet.
Yeah, you'd like to think so, but if you watch the game closely, you'd realise that Belgium were the better team. They should have been 2-0 up. They had a goal disallowed, which I don't think should have been disallowed. They scored with a penalty, which should have been a penalty, and they got back into the game, England, by getting the penalty given to them, which was probably right. But over the course of the game, the team that had the better understanding of the shape, the team that had the better wing-backs, the team that had the better centre-forward, the team that had the better midfield player that was going to pass the ball was Belgium. England did very well to get a good result out of it. But if you were looking forward to the European Championship, you would say that Belgium are still a better team than England.
What changed on in this game? Because first half, as Robbo says, it was all Belgium.
Well, only you can come up with that logic of obviously Belgium being ranked number 1, then England beat them, so they're number 1. I don't know. It wasn't a great game. I thought Belgium controlled it early on.
I was a bit serious, Don. I'm not an idiot.
I know that. I know that. You can come up with that logic. I know that. I don't know. I thought for the first 45 minutes, Belgium were in second or third gear. I thought they were absolutely cruising. The Carrasco goal, in my opinion, probably should have stood. That was borderline whether that was on or offside. And Lukaku was easily the best player on the pitch for the first 45 minutes. And then second half, England played a little bit higher up the pitch. They squeezed it a little bit more. They stopped Belgium from playing through the lines. Declan Rice was, I thought, brilliant in the second half. But there wasn't much between the sides. And I think in a real game, in a competitive game, you know, don't forget Belgium were without 4 or 5 of their main hitters, and so were England as well. But I think it was more. I think it was played like a friendly watching that second half.
Frank?
I agree with Don. I think it was more a friendly game in the second half, and we even saw Lukaku having fun at the end of the game just after losing for the national team. So I think the Boston didn't take it seriously. I mean, it's hard to judge the players where they just came back from a big pandemic for a different schedule, and now they are they just started the Premier League or their own championship, and they don't really concern about the National League as we can see as a real tournament. So it's hard to judge them, even if we have to do it. And I would say that I was disappointed by the first half of England, even if in the second half they were more concerned about working, especially defensively. I don't agree with Robbo. I think it was normal that the first goal was disallowed by the referee for Belgium, because I think Castagne was blinding the goalkeeper, and it's why he was named offside. But at the end of the day, I found Belgium better overall than England. But if Belgium is what they should today, named the best team in the world right now, or the best team in Europe right now, we are far from contenting me, you know, in that matter, because I found the game boring overall.
Yeah, and it adds a little bit, Robert, to a long list. And is this just an inevitable consequence of teams and players, obviously, that haven't spent any time together, players who haven't really had a pre-season? The quality right across the board from Seals, like all these matches I've been watching, have been well below average.
Yeah, I would agree with you, some of those reasons that you mentioned, but I also think there aren't at the moment any outstanding teams in world football. I'm talking about international football, not club football. You know, I did Spain against Switzerland, and Spain are struggling. They haven't got a centre forward. There's nobody that can play up front for them. I would say the same about France, which we're going to get onto. Then you look at Calvert-Lewin. I know Kane didn't start the game, but Calvert-Lewin, the centre forward for England. You know, so there's a lot of teams that I think are very average at the moment. Even Belgium, with some of the players they had playing today, you wouldn't say they were top-class players. They're very good players, but they're not world-class players. And that's why Belgium weren't able to overcome England today.
Well, but Belgium should be better than what we've seen of them, surely. You take a look at the quality, Don, and not just judging them on this game, but just overall throughout these previous tournaments. You kind of think, right, Roberto Martinez at the helm, they should be going into this tournament as one of the favourites, which they are. So I'm not quite sure which point I'm trying to make here. I'm just trying to strengthen this segment a little longer, Don.
Good luck.
Listen. I thought there were signs of Belgium in the first 45, but you know, when you looked at their starting 11, no Courtois. You know, Casteels is trying to push him for a number 1 berth. Hazard brothers weren't playing. Dries Mertens weren't playing, so it wasn't full strength. So it was, and I think what we're seeing with the Nations League, I'm not a massive fan of it. I must admit, I think players are playing in it to try and get, you know, a bit more exposure and trying to get their performances to a certain level, but I don't see it as being competitive football just yet. That's why you watch the Euros, you watch the World Cup. I disagree slightly with Rob. I think teams will come to the fore. I think teams like France and Belgium and Germany, the normal suspects, will come and look good sides at the moment. Managers are not necessarily picking their best players because, as Robbo just said there, he said, domestic football's just around the corner again. And we're only 2 or 3 weeks into domestic season. So it's hard for managers to try and pick their full strength sides and go at it toe-to-toe football. So that's why I think you're seeing a lot of boring games.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.